Oh, we return. It's been a few more days. Part 20. I've really got to get back into a rhythm here with recording. My God. I've been having these massive breaks, and I'll tell you why. It's because I've become obsessed with VR. Oh, my Lord. And especially I've been reading about Skyrim VR a lot as well recently, which should be fun at some point. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're at Jahara today. There's a lot of really weird stuff that happens with the game at Jahara that at the end of the last part I mentioned. Kind of makes me feel like they had more ideas here and then didn't go with them. So, to be clear, in our inventory, we have the hollowed out, the ruined, the whatever, the Dawn Shard. After it blew up an airship fleet, we don't really know what's going on with it. We've just got to learn. Fran suggested we come to speak to the people here, and last part we went on a big adventure to get here. I wanted to show you guys the new summon we've got as well, Belias, but... I guess we'll do that later today. So, yeah, let's see what we've got. Now, the Gareth Warriors. And these guys kind of look like... I got to be honest, when I was a teenager and I was first playing this game, I thought they were just humans in masks. But I guess they are big and they're more hunched over. I pay more attention to that kind of stuff now. But he says, "Who are you? This is Gareth Land. No place for human children to play at games." And we in our lovely white shirt get interrupted on response, and this guy, question mark, says, "They are wayfarers. They bring no harm. I saw them cross the Osmone plain. They are warriors of great distinction. The fiends of the plains troubled them not at all." So do you remember I mentioned that we saw a guy fighting out there? Again, I think there's a weird thing in the game where if you play slowly enough, or if that guy like dies or moves on, or maybe RNG doesn't spawn or something, you can be in a weird spot where this dialogue is different, I think. There's a slight branch based on whether he actually saw you or not. I might just be making that up, though. I think I remember reading that trivia about a month ago now. And the warrior says, "You ventured upon the plains alone, war chief? Again?" So this is the war chief. He's not just any old guy. "What business have you with the Gareth?" And Vaughn just, like, nods. "Let them pass. The responsibility will be mine." So one thing you'll notice straight away is this could have been a fully voice-acted cutscene, but it's not. Now, this isn't the first time we've seen this, but usually it's in the side content for the game. We get moments like this. Like, remember just quite recently when, after we survived the Barheim Passage, we were in Rabanasta and Vaughn stopped to have a conversation with Barsh about the plague that decimated his parents' generation and stuff. That was fully voice acted. There was like a lot going on there. And from this point on in the game, any scenes like that Barsh one I just mentioned, they don't have that VA anymore. They're delivered like this. He says, "Let them pass. The responsibility will be mine." And the warrior says, if your wish, war chief, then you may pass. These days see many Humes wandering through our lands." So, are there Humes around here? Who the hell could be here? Hopefully not looking for the same information we are, right? "I have not made introductions. I am Supernelu, war chief of this village. We Gareth have been friends to all since long ago. However, lately the Hume world is in much turmoil. We must protect our village and our people. As war chief and protector of our village, I ask you, why have you come to this land?" I like the idea of Evilis that there's lots of races that are mingling about, but many of them don't like how discordant human populations are and kind of separate themselves. But some remain at our sides, specifically like the Mughals, I think, and the Sikh and the Banga. He says, "I see." So again, Vaughn kind of gets cut off. We're almost like a silent protagonist from the classic era of Final Fantasy here. "So you too have come to ask about the Nethicite. I must speak with the elders. Though our masks make it difficult for you to tell us apart, walk through the village and look with your eyes. Listen with your ears." Right. So, there is another person here who is asking about Nethicite. Who could that be? Well, I guess we'll see. So, just a second ago, we were at the banks of the Sogahot. I never really read these out. This is exactly what I wanted in my playthrough, was I wanted to give you guys the detail for each little region. So this was the Field of the Fallen Wings. This was the Switchback. This was the Harlow Green. I kind of want to get it into a rhythm of whenever I hit a new map, open it up and we can read the name out, see if there's any rare games, stuff like that. But, and yeah, when we're in towns and outposts, it's fine, because down there at the bottom, it just says Jahara. We're at the lull of the land. They're also poetic, even if they don't end up meaning much. So the guy's just chilling out, or meditating maybe, more precisely. Here we got this warrior. "What is this? Another Hume visitor to our land? This is most unusual. Have you two come to speak with our elder chieftains? Maybe. Maybe we have. These guys are practicing for some fight. So there is actually a really, really valuable shop here. And in fact, I have been motivated to do a whole playthrough of FF12 before, just when I learned about a strategy to do with one item here. I'll show you guys that in a second. Ah, you are the Hume, the war chief has spoken of. You have crossed the plains to learn of the stones, yes? Wow, so what? Hold on. Did Supernello run through here a second ago, like, shouting about us? Because he only just got back, right? And he only just saw us. Sorry, what did he say? Do you want it? You've crossed the plains to learn of the stones. I believe the elders can tell you much. Well, that is why we're here. You're going to find these guys know a ton of stuff about the world. And in fact, when it comes to the summons, it's sort of these guys that are in the know about, like, the coolest and, like, most interesting, in my opinion, of the summons. We'll see more of that soon, but especially, like, dangerous and interesting creatures. They've got loads going on. You seem a great warrior, but it is best you avoid the Zertanan caverns. There are many fell creatures there, and of late, worse, a fiend with strange powers has been seen. Perhaps this is why the other creatures there have grown yet more violent. There you go, speak of the devil. They are saying that. So, this should be the... Oh no, this is not the vendor. I guess we'll see him in a second. What is it, Hume child? Have you something to ask of this wizened man? Ah, you wish to know of the Nethicite. It is a word I hear quite often of late, though I know not why, nor do I know anything of this stone. So too did I tell the Hume child, who asked me before. I'm sorry, ask another of the elders, perhaps they'll know. Wait, a Hume child? Here? Perhaps someone from Giza? I mean, there were children, lots of children in Giza. That would be my first guess. Ah, you are the Humes our war chief saw on the plains. Welcome to our village, protected by the clear flow of the Sohogot. Sogot? That's just one of the other prominent rivers. Hold on, I think I read this bit wrong. I am Supernellu's brother, Kadalu. I worry, for Supernellu often goes to the plains alone. Why? When the others surely wish to train with him. He is stubborn this way. Your pardon, I spoke of a personal matter. Please forget it. You have business with the elders, yes? On you go. All right, there we go. I just got reminded, the reason why I kind of flubbed what that guy was saying, I just remembered that there was something we were supposed to do back... screw it, I won't worry about it. But we could have spoken to Kityin. We didn't do that in the last part, did we? I think I forgot. We could have spoken to Kityin in Rabanasta, and she would have talked to us a bit more about her sister at this point. And you really do want to do it as early as possible, as regularly as possible. This part of the story in this act is kind of interesting because it quite rapidly updates how regularly you can go back to speak to her. And if you do it as fast as you can, the reward you get is of most value at the earliest possible time. Does that make sense? You leave it long enough and you could just get the reward, you know, on your own out in the field because the loot is strong enough at that point or whatever. Okay, so... we already spoke to all of these guys. That's fine. So let's move on through. Is this the merchant? I guess I get confused. I always think the merchant's over at those houses, but maybe he's at these ones. No, this is Geomancer Ugelu. Sitting here on the earth, one comes to see many things. The great flow of the world, even the flow of man's thoughts. Well, he's very interesting. And we get this guy. He says, oh, what's this? More Humes come to visit us. A little bigger this time, but no matter. You need not tell me anything. I know you have come to our village to learn of the stones. The Nethicite. We Gareth have knowledge of this, passed down from father to son, mother to daughter. Some of it remains, some has been lost to the history's sands. I know nothing of the stones. You must speak to the great chief. He alone holds the deep knowledge of these things. He alone remembers all the tellings. Cross the bridge to the north, and there you will find him. There are watchers at the bridge, so I think it best to speak with War Chief Supernellu. And the Geomancer, like, looks at him and gives him a little nod. May I ask of you a favor? Give this to War Chief Supernello from me. So this is really weird. I don't get what they're doing here. I'm really looking forward to your comments on this one, guys. So we obtain a Gyre stick. There is no rush. When you next happen to meet him, you may give it to him then. May you find all the answers you seek. Now, do you remember, like, on part 2, we got the, there was a banger that we could speak to. Oh, wait, was he? No, he was a banger. Who was a merchant, and he said, hey, I've got to deliver this to my mate. He's on the other side of this gate. Can you deliver it to him? And it was that treasure package, which I told you guys that people on 100% runs like to keep in their inventory. But we could sell it if we wanted for extra money, or we could just give it to him and complete the quest, so to speak, even if it does nothing for us. You remember that? Well, here's another situation just like that. This is another piece of loot. It's called the Jaya Stick. A fragrant stick of Jaya wood said to protect the bearer from evil spirits. And so this is tradable at the bazaar for some cash, just as the treasure bag was at the beginning of the game. The weird thing on this one, though, is the time between claiming this stick and handing it in is minuscule. Like, it's like the next NPC we'll speak to, we give this stick to. So the idea of a player going out now to a vendor and selling it to be selfish or whatever is really rare and really weird. And I don't know why Square would ever have thought a player would do such a thing. But if you do that, if you sell this Jaya stick right now and you don't have it to give to this next guy, when this whole sequence here at Jahara is over, we're going to get a reward, like we've just finished a quest. That quest reward will change based on whether you sold the Jaya stick or not. Seriously. And I'll talk more about it when we actually get the reward. But it's just very odd. And I feel like that has to be because something weird was going on here at development. And do you want some other really bizarre trivia as well? And I've accidentally done this in the past and I don't know how. The whole 100% run thing, there's a way to not sell it and to not hand it over as a part of the story. Here we go. Here's the vendor. In which case, you can keep it forever. And that's like a 100% run thing. But it's really weird. If you look that up on like game FAQs, on forums, stuff like that, the FF12 community is not necessarily at clear consensus on how to do that. Or it never used to be. These days, I'm sure everyone entrenched in the community knows very well. But it's really weird and obscure. The exact NPCs you talk to in the exact order you have to speak to them has to be really precise. But if you do it the right way, you can leave without handing the Jaya stick in or selling it. And so, yeah, I accidentally did that once. And then I realized it was a whole big thing to accomplish it. Anyway, do you need anything? Please take your time. Oh, I always do. Okay, so we don't have much money. But this is a really valuable shop, so let's get to work, see what we've got to sell. We did do a bunch of different areas here. If we find any new loot, I will read it out to you guys. And you're going to start to experience something here on this video now that I kind of don't like about FF12. I love the loot system. I think that the money is really well balanced and all that stuff. But this experience here of selling vast quantities of loot over and over and over again, this will happen a lot. And in general, I'm planning on cutting it out of a lot of the episodes, frankly. But whenever there's something new, I do want to read it to you. But this, you go through it so often, it's unbelievable. Oh, Arcana. So Arcana is what we stole from the Esper fight, and you can get very rarely in other places. We've got these wolf pelts. I think I'd read the description of it out, right? Cactus fruit here. These dense desert fruits are slightly sweet and surprisingly juicy, valued as a treat for children. I don't think we want to keep that. The bundle of needles, a bundle of 1,000 needles, frustrated merchants and impatient. I swear we sold that in a video. I already read that out, didn't I? Or maybe we didn't sell it. I just did it. Here, I just read it for you guys prematurely. The iron carapace, lots of money from those. Tanned hides. The Destria mane. This steel mane covering tapers to a sharp point designed to impale unwary foes with a fatal lunge. Even those who shun war use these in the casting of magics. So apparently so. We get some Chocobo Feathers here. A feather the size of a butcher's knife. These are sturdier than they might appear and suitable for use in armor, though they spell and might foul. You know, we have Gyrosol Greens as well here. We only have 2. If you go to specific vendors, you can buy these. And if you sell like 33 of them at the bazaar, you can get like auto haste gear, which is really good. I kind of wanted to do at this point, but we'll wait with it. And what shops sell them? Well, a few, but specifically, we could be riding airships for recreation at this point in the game. Maybe that'll be something later. So here's the Jaya stick, and I could sell it. I'm going to hold on to it, though. Bazaar's updated. A couple of Phoenix Downs. A pack of potions, which means 5. Eye openers, 1 kiss, not enough to stir you from your slumber. Perhaps a set of 5 will do the trick. Now with matching tufts of Phoenix Down, a price that will make rival retailers blush with envy. And an iron forged blade. I doubt this is actually going to be that good. Well regarded by many a warrior for its uncommon durability. Have you heard of the monographs, he says? Merely bearing one of these on your person aids in the retrieval of objects from the foes you defeat. There are different monographs for different persuasions of adventurer. As a merchant, I would love one if only I knew where it might be found. So, he is the first, like, main hint about monographs, I think. Unless, of course, you go speak to Dantro. Was it Dantro's wife? Gatsley's wife. Gatsley's wife in Rabanastre. And you kind of get that one for free, which we've got available for purchase. But yeah, these guys will talk about those and some of the more ancient, secret, hidden things around the game. All right, so we're just going to cross that bridge over there. There is a wood to the southeast of here where the mist is uncommonly thick. Even its flowers are perilous to man. If you had passed through that wood, be wary of places where the mist runs thickest. Well, we found an Esper where the mist ran thickest before. A little hint about an area of the world we're going up to soon. I've actually seen several of you guys leaving comments as the weeks have gone on here. We're in week 3 of me uploading now. You guys saying that you're excited to get to that forest. That's going to be really interesting. Many people come to our village of late. Perhaps the road to Giza is open. Once again, we can bring medicinal herbs and the fine cheese of the Nana to the people of the Giza. When the rains have lifted, I will do this. So, Nana, I think we heard about them a little bit, right? Are there Nana at this outpost? I think there will be some later. They're another, form of animal around this world. And I guess they're like an analog to cows because you can get milk and cheese and stuff out of them. All right. Hello, everybody. God, we've got so many bounties and things to do. Here's Supernello. He says, that which you carry, is it a gyre stick? If I say to do nothing, and we come over here, beyond here lies the hill where sits the great chief. Those from outside are not welcome here, okay? And you can't get through. So the idea is like, you're meant to ingratiate yourself with these people, get to know them, and in doing so, you'll find a gyre stick. And now with a gyre stick, you can give it to him and get across the bridge. But if you do things in a certain order, you don't have to do this, and you can get through without handing it. The High Chief has given this to me. I shall receive it. I thank you for bringing it to me. Now, did you learn what you wish? No, do not tell me. It is written clear upon your face. So, even the High Chief could not help. Then you must meet with the Great Chief. Okay, High Chief, Great Chief, War Chief. Fine, I'll meet the Great Chief. Yes, it is true. The Great Chief may know something that would aid you. Yet arranging an audience may be quite difficult. And so here's where it really strikes me, the whole not in cutscenes thing. Here we get Ash. I don't remember a moment where Ash has spoken like this. But there she is, just in regular text. She says, I must learn more about the Nethicite. I cannot turn back now. It's almost like this was a tack-on, and they couldn't get the voice actors back, the talent back. Please tell your great chief that I am of the royal line of Dalmasca, a direct descendant of Dynast King Wraithwell. If the Gareth have passed down knowledge of the stones, they must know of the Nethicite that the Dynast King once held. Do you have proof of your heritage? I do not. Well, hold on. If you remember, way back when, Ondor told us that that's what we needed. We needed proof of our heritage, and we would get it from Wraithwell's tomb. That's what the shard was, right? And then we found out it can explode, and it kind of lost its energy. Remember, we needed proof of our heritage, not for these guys, for some other people completely elsewhere at Mount Bur Omisos. Anyway, he says, I've looked into your eyes, and I can see that you speak the truth, human child. I give you my trust. The great chief is ahead across this bridge. It's almost like they're empathetic or something. They can see through. It's weird because there was a little suggestion maybe that Fran and the Vieira are kind of like psychically connecting a little bit. Do you remember that scene before in Rabanastre where Fran was like, we feel great sorrow or something? In reference to her and Balthiera. I've always wondered if she was just guessing or they really do have that like deeper connection. If the War Chief has given you his trust, so shall I. Go, meet with the Great Chief. Your Great Chief is across the bridge at the meeting place. Walk softly, friend. Ah, you wonder about the stick. If you wish to know more, ask the High Chief. Do not ask me about this matter. Okay, hold on. I don't remember what this guy might say at this point. It's all weird, right? Like, we just get given a stick and then we hand it in and they've got an optional thing. Wait, Geomancer, here's the High Chief. The stick you gave to our War Chief, it's a ward against demons known to our people. I fear he will have need of it soon. So, like, they're hinting that he needs it. I can't remember. There's nothing special that's going to happen there. Maybe there's a bounty? There is stuff to do with demons and bounties here, but I don't know. I mean, it's certainly not for the main story, I don't think. Anyway, hello, everybody. We are now at the Eldenol. I suppose we could have just read that on screen anyway. Oh my god, I did that whole thing at the vendor and I never even told you guys in the end what that special gear was. It's fine, we'll do that in a second. Now, before we go into this big tent here behind this wall, right, and we're going to trigger some cutscenes, something really important here at the Elden Ring. Now, look at the map, okay? We crossed the bridge and you just meant to go forwards and we would trigger a cutscene and that's it. In classic Final Fantasy fashion, if you come all the way around here, where there's a bunch of detail. Look at this guy. What are these guys playing? What is that game? You know, this will be really good. Somebody pause the video, look at that board and tell me, is that a real world game? Particularly from an East Asian culture, I'm sure. It's Settlers of Catan, guys. They're playing Settlers of Catan. But if you come over here, I swear, is it only, do I have to return? Is it later, maybe? There's a chest with a really important item here that's going to make Balthier much better. A Hume child, I'm surprised to see you here. This here was called the Elden Ring. Here does the Great Chief hold council with the other elders. We Gareth welcome outsiders to our village, but few are they who are allowed here. You must be on important business indeed. Well, yeah, I would certainly say so. Alright, so I guess we have to come back for it. Which makes sense because I always miss it. No, here it is. Here's the chest. I always miss this. This chest, 100% spawn, 100% loot. This thing's hard to recreate in the bazaar, I think. Anyway, it's really, really good. The Pheasant Netsuke. Now, the only person on their license board who actually has this is Balthier. For my run here through SFF. You see it's accessories 11 here. And, well, what is Balthier good with, as we've already seen? He's good with items, right? Well, this is excellent on his build. Improves the potency of restorative items, such as potions. And most importantly, also Phoenix Downs. So this, I think, does this double their effectiveness? If a potion would heal for 200, is now going to heal for like 400. X potions, high potions, all that stuff, they'll all be a lot stronger. And Phoenix Downs too. So because Phoenix Downs are instant activation, he is now basically like a res god. He's very, very, very good. And in fact, if we keep looking at his grid here, you'll see that we got Phoenix Down Law 1 already. These are the Remedy laws. These are the Ether laws. Here, Phoenix laws are over here. Now, these are pretty tricky to get to. They're past a lot of this stuff. But eventually, we can get Phoenix law here as well. And a Phoenix law over here. Really expensive. It costs 100 LP. But these all together with the Pheasant Netsuke, Balthier is going to be great. There's a lot of really cool builds we can set up with items. And it complements him so well because, you know, guns shoot slow, but he complements that with instant activation items. And it's just good. He also kind of penetrates a lot of defenses, both because of the guns, but also because items, when you start using them offensively, can feel that way too. Oh, a Hume child. This is most unusual. You seem quite burly for one so young. We are old here, and you may find our village lacks the excitement you crave, but sometimes it is better to move slowly. Alright, enough with all of that. Let's now go in and finally, I mean, Jesus, we didn't get a cutscene last episode, did we? Did we? And it's been how long into this one? We'll get a fully voice-acted cutscene here. The Great Chief is ahead. Will you meet with him? And look at this as well. There's basically been nothing to do here, right? Just talk to people. But they've given me so many options to turn back. Like, why would I? Meet with the Great Chief. It's not like we fought a boss and we might want to go back and save or something, you know. So answers about the Nethicite. Could it be this easy? Just head down from Giza?
This Nethicite. You have used it.
It was not I who used it. Indeed, I had hoped you could show me how. Thus I've come.
You do not know the workings of the stone. Then we are no different.
What?
In ages past, the gods made a gift of Nethicite to my people. But the manner of its use eluded us. Displeased by our failure, the gods took back their stones. They chose instead to give them to a Yum king. Called the Dynast King, he used the Nethicite's power to bring peace to a troubled time. It is a curious thing. Though the blood of King Wraithwolf flow through your veins, you cannot wield Nethicite.
cannot wield it. So then, am I to understand you can't tell me how to use the stone?
Though it shame me so to admit, here before me stands a descendant of the dynast king himself, and I can accord her no help at all. Still, even if you knew how to use the nethicite, you would find it of small avail. The mist collected in the stone over ages past is lost, and with it, the stone's power. It will be your posterity who wield the stone in ages yet to come.
So you don't get it, only your children get it? How does that help us now?
This stone is devoid of power, empty, yet full of thirst. A terrible longing to drink the world dry. The power of men and of magic.
I love how he describes it in such a scary way. Okay, so real quick, just want to pause this scene. We're going to go into another half of the scene now, so I'll just do this here. Remember this little story here, that the gods gave these stones to these people, but then decided, no, that's a silly idea, and they gave them to humans instead. And the fact that these people are so ashamed of that. Really remember that, because I think when you get more context about the game later, and everything that's kind of going on, it puts these people in a very different light. I really, really, really like this scene, but it's something we kind of have to make a mental note of. And especially the fact that they're ashamed. Because by the time this story is done, I'm not sure how ashamed they should be. But okay.
Of good and of evil. It is often those who desire nethicite whom the nethicite itself desires.
Larsa?
Aha, a Hume child, of course. Larsa, who else? And I guess he's just been hiding behind a hut the whole time. Because he's been here, right? Like, they were all talking about him. So, and it makes sense he'd be trying to learn about nethicite, because he's looking into the stuff with Vayne.
To Baromi says.
I say we ought leave tomorrow. I was going to wait for my escort to return, but meeting you here has presented a great opportunity. This terrible war can be stopped, but I will need your help to do so.
A war?
You know the Marquis Ondor leads a group of insurgents. Your pardon. He leads a large resistance force against the Empire. Lady Ash, neither of our countries can afford this now. The Rosarian Empire would stir. They would aid the resistance and use this aid as a pretext to declare war on Arcadia, and Arcadia would have no choice but to answer. Lady Ash, let us go to Ber Omases. With the blessing of His Grace, the Grand Kiltius Anastasis, you may rightly wear your crown and declare the restoration of the Kingdom of Dalmasca. As Queen, you can call for peace between the Empire and Dalmasca and stop Marquis Ondor.
For peace? How dare you say that? The Empire attacked us, stole all we hold dear, and you would have me save them from war?
Dalmasca would be the battlefield. What if nethicite were used on Rabanasta? You know my brother would do this. Forgive me. I presumed overmuch. I could think of no other way to avoid bloodshed. If you cannot trust me, then please, take me as your hostage.
Hey, we're good at doing that, right?
Rustler.
You saw him, didn't you? Like at the king's tomb.
So you did see him too. But why?
It's strange. Before, I didn't even know what you looked like. And the prince? I barely knew there was a prince. Who knows? Maybe the person I saw was my brother.
Bosch told me about him.
He enlisted right at the end. But for what? He knew he couldn't win.
To protect something.
How can he protect anything when he's dead? Was it different for Prince Rastler? Did that make sense? Hating the Empire, getting revenge, it's all I ever thought about. But I never did anything about it. I mean, I realized there was nothing I could do. It made me feel hollow, alone. And then I'd miss my brother. I'd say stuff like, I'm gonna be a sky pirate, or some other stupid thing. Just anything to keep my mind off it. I was running away. I needed to get away from his death. That's why I followed you. You know what? I'm through with it. I'm through running. I'm ready to find my purpose. To find some real answers. Some reasons. If I stick with you, I think I will.
I wish I knew.
I'll find them.
One of my favorite tracks on the soundtrack, honestly. Stupidly important scene, which I'll ramble about in a moment.
I will accompany you to Mount Baromises.
I had hoped you'd say yes. I'm glad.
My heart is not set. I still have questions. I hope to find answers along the way.
I had other reason to invite you. There is someone I'd like you to meet, waiting on Baromises.
Who is that?
An enemy, and an ally also. You will just have to wait and see for yourself.
Why wouldn't he tell us? I think that's so ridiculous.
That Larsa likes his secrets.
He does not mean ill by it.
He's not bad. At least for an Imperial.
He said that it's an enemy and an ally also. I mean, I wouldn't be so chill about that, honestly. We're in hiding in multiple reasons, and yes, so the idea here is we've taken him hostage, I guess.
Holy Mount Baromises stands at the northern end of the Yacht Remuda. Once we're in Yacht, we need not fear pursuit by their airships.
Don't get your hopes up. You remember the Leviathan sailed straight over the Yacht Yensa, right up to Wraithel's tomb. Skystone that works even in Yacht. You know Nethersight's behind it. Little wonder they're so keen on the stuff.
And what is it you're after, Balthier? You're a welcome hand and a great aid, but why?
Worried I'm out to steal the Nethersight, eh? Can't say I'm unaccustomed to people doubting my intentions. Nothing could be further from my mind. Shall I swear by your sword or some such?
Apologies, but I needed to know where you stand. Her Majesty depends on you, and you seem to have an interest in the stone.
I'm only here to see how the story unfolds. Any self-respecting leading man would do the same.
Well, I don't know whether I agree with that, Balthier. You have been rather interested, even as far back as the goddess's Magicite. Like, you got to remember, guys, what was it that prompted Balthier to go to that palace and steal that particular treasure in the first place? All right, so Larsa joins the party, I guess. I love that little detail there as well about how the fleet got to us over Wraithel's tomb. Because they could have easily glossed over that, and I think a lot of people wouldn't have seen it as like a plot hole, but they make sure to actually explain, even if it is a little bit later. So Larsa joins as a guest, and he won't tell us who we're going to be meeting. Oh, even more of the cutscene. Jesus, there's like 7 cutscenes stitched together here. Oh, no, this one's not... Okay, now we're back to this with just the text. So, you will leave, says Supernello. And Von nods. He says, take this as a token of our parting. And he gives us a reward. So here I got a crossbow and onion bolts. If we had sold the Gyre stick, we would have got, I think it's a killer bow and onion arrows, maybe? But I think it's a bow instead of a crossbow. So there's like just that weird option there. I don't know what was going on. I just feel like there was going to be something more substantive in terms of a choice you make, and then it just kind of got lost along the way somehow. Maybe something in the localization. Maybe it makes more sense in the original Japanese, you know, plot detailing and stuff. It is very strange. It's one of those things as well where when I learned how to mod this game and some of the amazing tools that those guys have made, they let you update all of these little things. Like, for example, me putting Libra emotes around the game. Yeah, I could have changed this and made it more meaningful, but at the end of the day, sell a gyre stick or not, it doesn't feel like much of a task in the first place. If you would ride a chocobo, you may. I have spoken with the Moogle. She will not charge you for your first use of the chocobos. Take care on the road ahead. Should it lead back to our land, you are welcome guests. Spirits of the land watch over you. So why they like us so much, who knows really. And it is worth coming back. Do you remember Larsa mentioned he had an escort, and we're basically stealing him away from the escort here? The escort obviously would be Imperials. There's actually a whole judge in the game that most people don't know about, but who is based on a very, very, very tiny little interaction where you return here, and they're looking for Larsa, so we'll do that going forwards. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about that Varn scene. Oh, here you go. Here's Nana. These are the animals. The green creatures in my enclosure are Nanas, the best livestock in all of Evilis. No part of the Nana goes to waste. Meat, hide, and bones all have their uses. They are strong against drought and cold. Oh, and easily herded. I guess the whole idea is this is like a Native American thing. And, you know, that whole thing about bison and not wasting any part of the bison and so on. Anyway, you find these in various places. I think they're really sweet. And they're kind of like weird avian cattle hybrids. They're very, very curious. So yeah, this whole scene with Ash, where first Larsa comes to her with a proposition. Don't follow Ondor, Larsa says. Ondor is away, rousing this resistance. Now, we knew that already a little bit after the Wraithwell sequence, and we kind of entered this act. Ondor says, I quit Bujerba, I'm running off in hiding, and I'm trying to bring together counter-Imperial forces. So, in theory, Ash should love that idea, and she wants revenge. We can clearly see she wants revenge, and you may agree with her desire for revenge. So, it's weird because it's almost like we're missing a scene with Ondor, really, where we get to talk to him a little bit and see what his plans are. But at the start of all of this, it's like Ash is on Ondor's side. But Larsa says, no, don't provoke war. If Ondor's going to do this, the Rosarians are going to take any opportunity they can to declare war on Arcades. And Arcadia, I should say. Arcades is just the capital. And Rabanasta's going to get nuked. Don't do it. It's not worth it. That's the argument Larsa makes. And I don't think it's a very convincing one to Ash. But then later on that night, Varn gives his little story. And I know it just kind of sounds like my immediate interpretation of that scene is just, we're just learning a little bit more about Varn to try and justify why he's here in the story, frankly. But what he's specifically saying is, it was my brother joined this conflict and got himself killed, and he couldn't do anything while he's dead. What was the point? Why was he clinging to this battle? And you got to remember, Lars is basically making that same argument to Ash. So in a really big way there, Varn just affected Ash. I think Ash was on a path of vengeance, of very definite vengeance. And she speaks to Varn there, and Varn really does get in her head. And I think at least somewhat changes her mind. And I think that's really, really important in justifying why Varn is actually a meaningful character here in this story, and why he might have done something. I mean, still, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, well, what's Penelo been up to? How do we justify what Penelo's doing? But, I mean, maybe we can get to that in a later day. And you've also got this weird thing of these visions, you know. It's not just Ash seeing these visions, it's Varn as well. And why? Why these two out of everyone? It's kind of a little mystery. And in fact, to tell you the truth, there are elements of that story that even to this day I'm kind of confused about. And kind of have more I wish would be resolved. So let's head on now to Mount Baromeses. The time has finally come. What does it say? Mount Baromeses should be in Eastern Kawan. Now, if we have a look, it's all the way over here. Oh, and I can't actually interact with it just yet. But it's a pretty goddamn long way away out on that coast. So that little forest we were talking about earlier, I guess we'll be heading through there. And one fun thing that we can do while we're on our way is finally check out how espers work, which I'm surprised has taken me this long to actually get here. I I've got so much goddamn trivia about espers, it's unreal. Also, by these black chocobo here, you'll see that there are these footprints sort of hinting off into those bushes. So, chocobo prints are in a lot of Final Fantasy games, so this isn't exactly new to me. But this is a chocobo-specific route. If we chose to take our free chocobo, we could go down there right now. And in fact, there's kind of a hidden extra thing that you can see if you do so. So maybe I'll come back for that, maybe. Also, sorry that I just brought you out there to die immediately, Ash, but there you have it. Right, so let's get Barsh up. Oh, wait. Well, I didn't buy it, did I? That's why. I keep doing this. I keep making this mistake. Every video, I'm like, I'm going to show you guys the stuff now. And then I don't, because I haven't been building Barsh in that way. So, yeah, if we just go for these battle ores, look, they're all together. Battle ore, battle ore, battle ore. There's another one here, slightly more expensive, and then Belias will be there. So I guess we'll collect him a little bit later. And in fact, maybe it makes sense for us to ride a chocobo now then. The only reason I didn't grab one here was because I wanted to summon. And I guess that there's no real reason for us to put it off. So fine, let's head on back. How much damage is he doing here as well at the moment? 400 we just saw, but that was that water coming from Pinello. Or was that something else? Oh my god, did he just hit 900? Is that where we are? No, that was 100. Probably want to re-equip him with some more important stuff. But we'll see. Oh, yes, and you just saw Flare there. Flare looking exactly like it did in 10, as far as I can tell. And that's because, of course, we have Larsa with us, who is doing pretty much the same thing as he did before when we were at the Lucy Mines on Bujerba. He'll spam Shades of Black. Look at that. We get Flare again. Look at that long delay there, and he'll blow up. Flare's a really interesting spell. I don't think I've talked about this. In the early PlayStation 2 versions of the game, they had kind of a weird mechanic with the combat that limited the number of spell effects that could be on screen at any one time. Think about it. It's the PlayStation 2. It's not like amazing hardware. So if too many people did too many big spells at once, you'd get all these frame drops. I don't know whether it would risk a crash or what, but they were obviously scared of that. So what they did was they made it so that some spells are like really costly and they are the only spell that can be going at once. So what you could do with, and Flare was one such spell. They have different values. Sometimes like they're really, really expensive. Sometimes they're really, really cheap. And it basically just depends on how much frame space they take, or how much visual effects and clutter there is on the screen, how many frames you're going to lose with the casting of it. So the really big flashy spells, you can only very, very rarely and in a very limited way cast them, and Flare has this huge delay on it. But what that meant was players could actually take advantage of that, where you have a black mage cast like Flare with a bunch of melee physical damage hitters just rapidly attacking in the meantime, because regular attacks could continue while spells couldn't. And the boss that you're fighting has to stand around because the boss can't use his spell until your spell is over, until your Flare is finished. And in the meantime, you've got like 10 free attacks in. Does that make sense? In the more recent versions of the game, that is not there, just so that you guys know. So here's a red chocobo. I love the red chocobo. One of my favorite things about FF15 is that... Oh my god, speaking of dangerous spells, that's Scathe. Down it goes. Lars has been on a roll with the RNG there. One of my favorite things about FF15 is riding chocobos in that game and recoloring them. There are obviously, we've seen black ones and stuff here. Based on the region of the world you're in, you find different colored chocobo around Evilis. The interesting thing here is, well, specifically in the Osmane Plains, is you've got like a 1% chance for a level 99 red chocobo to spawn, which is a ludicrously obscure, like stupidly strange mechanic in the game. Fans of Final Fantasy games will be familiar with the idea of having a ribbon accessory that makes you immune to all status effects. If you watch my playthrough of 10, you will have seen me getting ribbons there. Well, one of the only ways to get a ribbon in this game is to find that chocobo, the level 99 one, and I think you only have a chance of getting it as a steal or something. It's nuts. Or maybe it's as a drop, so you want to get a really high chain level and then try and spawn one. And there's all kinds of weird tricks about spawning them, like by petrifying. It's just crazy. Really, really nonsense. I think in SFF, I think in this current video series you're watching, he has the level 99 one has a higher spawn rate or something. I'll be able to show it to you guys. Don't you worry. So instead of buying something random from the bazaar here, I want to buy this item here. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. For example, the Flame Tongue, fire damage for Barsh here, and he would actually do very well with that. The Flame Staff, also very good for Fran. So This staff is element fire. And you might think, well, what does that mean? When I physically attack, it will do fire damage. Well, what's really important about this is basically this boosts fire element. So this one is extremely strong because if you combo this with oil, you can do ungodly damage. Like if you oil and then flame staff cast fire on something weak to fire, Fran is going to be like by far the most damage. And here's the thing, the flame staff, this is the only one really that will boost fire. So once we buy this, we have this for good. Like 30 hours from now, in terms of gameplay, I mean, not necessarily that many hours in terms of videos, I can cut grind and stuff out. But way later in the game, this will still be a valid accessory. So yes, very worthwhile. 2,250, we can afford it. The mitre here, it's a holy damage mace, pretty good for Ash. But what I want to get is this, the main Gosh. This thing's awesome. If you just look at it on the list here, you'll see, well, Vaan gets +6 damage from it. That's cool, but you don't really see anything else, do you? Well, here's the thing. Like so many weapons, you really got to dig into the actual stats here, which we'll grab like so. So look at this. Oh, not the license board, sorry. Mind you, a little bit closer to Red Spiral, so let's pick that up. In fact, we can get... Oh, no, it's 50, not 30. Well, that's fine. And we got gold needles, 1,000 needles and weight in here. So the main Gosh, Chopper inflicts sap. The main Gosh gives us attack power, but also look at evade. We currently have 18 evade, and that's because we've got a shield. It will go all the way up to 43. 43. Just like with the flame staff, this is some hardcore long-term accessory stuff here right now. We can use this viably on Vaan for ages. Vaan just became a very viable tank with this, basically. You keep decoy on him. You make sure he's got the main Gosh and then whatever shield you like. If you want a bit of magic evade on there, if you want more regular evade, whatever. We can give him a... I don't think we have it yet, do we? No, we don't. When we do some bounties, we'll have a really cool accessory that gives him even more evade, and he'll just become like a dodge tank. Really, really, really fantastic. And yeah, I played many playthroughs as a teenager of Final Fantasy XII, never really utilizing proper tank strats, never properly buffing or statting up someone's evasion. And it was only recently that I learned about that and kind of went back and did like a whole playthrough just to be able to enjoy it. So, yeah, we're a good bit into the game. I'd say we're at least a third of the way through. You know, we've fought a good amount of bosses. We've done some stuff. But most of the big bosses and stuff in this game kind of come in the later stages. So getting it here at Jahara is plenty early enough to really be able to have a lot of fun with it. So, let's talk to Gertie now. I heard from the War Chief. You ride for free. The offer's only good once, though. Do you want a high one? Well, she always give you a Chocobo for very cheap here in this area of the world. I think that what the devs are basically saying is they want you to use Chocobos around about now. And we can use this to kind of just skip our way through and map this region if we'd like. And we can use it to go to some hidden places. So let's see how that looks. First of all, also, there is the sprint mechanic, which I never showed you last time. We have 3 Gyashal greens there. And every time we press X, we'll eat one. So they're represented by the different colored cherries, essentially. So if I eat, we will sprint. And we just move faster. Obviously, you've only got a time limit on a Chocobo. So sprinting allows you to get further before it leaves. And so, yeah, now that we're on the Chocobo, we can walk anywhere that there's these black feet on the ground. We can travel through. And you will find hidden exits to maps. Because, remember, just now, it doesn't look like there's an exit there, does it? But we've jumped across. And we're now at a place called the Shred, where there's actually multiple rare games. The hint here, it says a gator lurks, then be patient. Well, that's actually a different area of the Shred. So what's happening here is we are on the... Because we did this with the Chocobo, we are on the other side of this, like, chasm. Another reason why it feels very Calmlandsy to me. We can't pick up any of this loot, but I think it's fine to dismount in this area anyway, and you guys will see why. So, yeah, let's grab this. I don't have the diamond armlet equipped right now, because we put the Pheasant Natsuke onto Balthier here, but that's fine. So, yeah, we can get some free chests here. And, well, if you have a look here, there's this cave. And, we can walk down. Honestly, I didn't realize that was a whole cliff. You'll see it's being guarded by these Imperials. But they won't let you pass. They'll just stand here and be menacing. They won't let us pass. Later, we will find stuff happens with them. but you can get an early glimpse right now. So we're kind of blocked off. We know that there's a hidden place there. You can only see it if you come here early with a Chocobo. I just kind of wanted to give you guys a little peek of what it looks like with those guys actually just standing up. So that's nice. Let's get back on a Chocobo now. And yeah, because we're kind of blocked in now. Oh my god, the terrain here is so annoying. Because we're kind of blocked in here now, there will always be one free Chocobo for us to mount. Just roaming around. And this is the guy here. And you can get some extra little chests. So that's nice. And a green beret. Cool. So I'll see you guys back up at the other area. Well, actually, hold on. How do I want to do this? I was going to say one map further north. But I suppose it's a question of I need gil and I need to be strong. So I don't really want to skip too many enemies. But I also don't want the video to be like drudgery, if that makes sense. I don't want to force you guys to watch fighting every single one of these. Oh, goddamn, that's Jahara. That is not the way that I wanted to go. I always end up messing this up. Jahara is in such a like weird little area of the Osmone Plain, like nestled right in there. Somehow ended up getting turned around and looking back at it. So yeah, well, I guess we can ride Chocobo. That's fine. And between videos, if we start to really struggle against enemies and stuff, and I have a feeling we will be a little bit here soon. If that happens, then I can grind a bit off screen. So here we should be on the other side. Here you go. You see? Oh no, we're at a place called the Green Snake here. Some nice bullcrocs, stuff like that. If we walk down there, that's the cave. You can see it. That's actually like 2 maps away, but you can just see it off there in the distance. Instead of walking towards it, because we know that we can't get there anyway without the hidden Chocobo path, I'm just going to come over here. And here, that would be another entrance for us if we wanted. Well, this way takes us out. That's the whole Osmone Plain, really. I mean, it's that forgettable as a location.
It was a success.
Wow, I'm impressed, Bon.
I got a good feeling.
An alliance between Dalmasca and the Empire.
Reason tells me 'tis the only course. We must avoid a wasting war with the Empire at all cost. Yet I fear I could not bear the shame, had I but the strength.
A shame perhaps for me and for you. But for Dalmasca, 'tis hope.
And you can just accept this, can you?
After Vane's ruse, I had abandoned hope for honor. Yet, never did I forget my knightly vows. If I could protect but one person from war's horror, then I would bear any shame. I would bear it proudly. I could not defend my home. What is shame to me?
My people hate the Empire. They will not accept this.
There is hope.
Right?
Don't encourage
Hope for a future where we can
Not
join
that bad,
hands
am I
I
as
got
brothers.
A good feeling.
Larsa, please. This is serious.
I'm sorry.
Don't be Larsa. Somebody's got to put him in his place.
More about the next generation, right? Do you know what's particularly sickening about that scene? And I'm going to pause it real quick in a second. What's particularly sickening is that's exactly what Vossler came to realize. Vossler cut us a pretty goddamn good deal, wouldn't you say? The stone for the whole kingdom. And I mean, we could still do that. It's just lost its power now. I get the idea that you don't want to further arm the Arcadians, but it's like Vossler kind of this already dawned on him. He won Dalmasca its sovereignty, but that wasn't perfect enough for us, so we ended up leaving him there to die. And that's a really, really tough one to swallow. And now they're talking about their own selfish shame. My God. Right, so a flash all the way off over to Arcadia now, though. And the judges, who actually are really interesting characters that you get to see only really through these sideways flashes.
The Senate may play at intrigue, but Lord Vane is not one to be brought down easily. The entire military waits upon his orders, from the War Council down to the rank and file. What better blade than he to strike down the enemies of the Empire?
Your honor reminds me of Zect 2 years since. He, too, put his trust in Lord Vane's strength, and what became of him? Gone without a trace since Nabudis.
I will not hear you malign Judge Zect. He was a noble warrior. Or do you think his trust in Lord Vane ill-placed?
Well, where is he then?
Vane took 2 of his own brothers' lives. He is ruthless beyond contempt.
Ruthless, you say? Would he were more so?
He gives traitors no quarter, be they of his own blood. How fitting for one who would bear the burden of empire.
But could we bear him? Zagabath, what of you? Surely you do not believe his brothers were traitors?
So found His Excellency Lord Gramis, you would do well to mind your tongue, Drace. That matter is long past.
Your Honors, a summons. Lord Vane has arrived at the palace.
We come at once.
It's interesting to see Gabranth among the other judges.
Lord Larsa has left for Baromises. He hopes to enlist the aid of the Grand Kiltius in stopping the insurgents. I doubt this will be enough to deter Ondor, but even a slight hindrance to his operations would be welcome. This will delay the Rosarian invasion, and we will have bought much-needed time to shore up our defenses.
Just as His Excellency had hoped.
No matter the result, I'm pleased with the young lord's progress. I can already see the stunned faces of those mud-witted senators. The fools think a child emperor's strings easy to pull from the shadows. But they will find that Lord Larsa is no puppet.
Yes, the senators would be most pleased with a puppet for an emperor. Recall, Drace, how the Senate fears and despises Lord Vane's ability. When they realize the truth, that Lord Larsa is no docile lamb to be shepherded, they will bare their teeth and devour him.
You're right. I shall speak on this matter with His Excellency at once. Gabranth, it falls to us to protect Lord Larsa. Are we agreed?
Aye.
I mean, that's what the judges are there for, to defend the Solidors, even if they doubt Vane and so on. I love that. I love seeing Gabranth be, you know, properly knightly there. That's so cool. Man, what is that? Where's the time gone? We've barely got into some of the cool scenes here. I will talk more about that later, guys. I just dismounted the Chocobo as well. That's a bit of a shame, honestly, because there's another hidden Chocobo path in this next region, which you can get to if you hustle enough. And can actually let you skip a boss too, if I remember rightly. But here we are. So another new region. You can see there's some rare game for us to look at. This is the Golmore Jungle. One of the cooler areas in the game. Not my favorite. I'm still banking on that one, and I'll show you guys that soon enough. But yeah, a very creepy, weird kind of jungle area, but also filled with old ruins and highways that once lined it. Lots to talk about. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I'll give you more of a discussion on the judges in the next part as we head into the mist-laden woods. And who would you believe it? Actually, learn a little bit more about Fran. All coming up very soon. Take care, guys, and thanks for watching.